If you ever want to feel invisible, try sitting through a Thanksgiving dinner where your name is mentioned exactly 0 times, except in a toast dedicated to your sibling. That was me. Sitting at the far end of my parents' oak dining table, wedged between a coat rack and a 3-year-old with mashed potatoes on her forehead, silently stabbing my overcooked turkey like it owed me money. Let me rewind. My name's Owen. I'm 28, I work in HVAC maintenance, I rent a 1-bedroom apartment above a vape shop, and according to my parents, I'm the practical one. That's not a compliment, by the way. It's what they say right before handing my brother Tyler another round of applause for existing. Tyler, the golden child. Age 26. MBA from Northwestern. Drives a white BMW. Started some scalable consulting hybrid. Whatever startup that I swear is just a fancy way of selling LinkedIn posts to the rich and gullible. The family worships him like he invented gravity. I hadn't been home for Thanksgiving in 2 years. But this year, my mom guilted me with, "It's our first one back since Grandpa passed. It won't be the same without you." So, like an idiot with unresolved hope, I showed up. I even brought pumpkin pie. Store-bought, but I removed the label. The table was exactly as I remembered, overdecorated, too loud, and filled with the kind of small talk that felt like everyone was auditioning for a fake podcast. "Tyler's got meetings with investors in Zurich," my Uncle Steve said at one point, like Zurich was a magical land and Tyler was its prince. "Oh, we're just so proud of both our boys," my mom cooed, which would have been sweet, except that both sounded suspiciously like a formality. Then came the moment. After dessert, after Tyler gave some 10-minute TED talk about disrupting inefficiencies in B2B logistics, my dad stood up, lifted his wine glass, and said loud and clear, "To the son who actually makes us proud." And the room erupted in laughter. Not the shocked, awkward kind. The warm, familiar kind. The kind that says, "We've all thought it, he just said it." I didn't say anything. Didn't slam my glass down or cause a scene. I just stood up quietly, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. Nobody stopped me. Nobody followed. Outside, the air was freezing, the kind that bites your ears and makes you question your whole life. I walked 3 blocks in silence before calling an Uber. I didn't cry. Not until I got back to my apartment, took off my shoes, and saw the untouched pie still in the backseat of my car. I didn't take an Uber after all. I just walked. Not because I wanted to, but because sitting in a stranger's car while trying not to cry felt worse than freezing my face off in 30-degree wind. There's something oddly clarifying about cold air and betrayal. Like your body and your soul are both shivering at the same time. The streets were mostly empty, aside from the occasional porch light, or someone dragging trash bins to the curb. Thanksgiving leftovers in one hand, emotional carnage in the other. I kept playing it back. That moment. My dad raising his glass like a king addressing his court. To the son who actually makes us proud. Every time I replayed it, it hurt more. It wasn't just the words. It was the way they all laughed. Like it was obvious. Like it was okay. Like they'd all just been waiting for someone to finally say it out loud. By the time I got home, my hands were stiff and my cheeks hurt from the wind. I tossed my coat over the couch, dropped the leftover pie on the kitchen counter, and just stood there in silence. That damn pie. It felt like a metaphor for everything, me showing up with something sweet, hoping for a little warmth, and getting served a cold reminder that I was an afterthought. I didn't cry. Not right away. But when I went to grab a fork and accidentally knocked the pie off the counter, watched it splatter all over the floor in a mess of cinnamon and shattered hopes. That's when I sat down on the linoleum and just let it happen. I cried like a kid who still believed his parents might someday say, "We're proud of you," and actually mean it. When I was 12, Tyler got a mountain bike for Christmas. I got a hoodie that said, "Hustle harder." When I was 16, he crashed my dad's car into a mailbox. They laughed about it over dinner like it was a sitcom moment. When I forgot to take the trash out that same year, I was grounded for a week and told I lacked respect. And still, I tried. Every single year. Even when I moved out and took a job fixing boilers just to afford night classes, I still drove home for Thanksgiving. I still smiled through the same tired questions. You still doing that blue-collar stuff? Tyler says you should try tech sales. He says it's easy money. Maybe you just haven't found your thing yet. As if my thing wasn't showing up, quietly, for people who only noticed when I didn't. But this year? This year was supposed to be different. I had paid off my student loans. I'd gotten promoted to lead technician. I even got certified in HVAC automation systems, which, sure, wasn't sexy like an MBA, but it was something I worked for. Earned. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd get a seat at the grown-up table this time. Maybe someone would say, "Hey, Owen's doing all right." Instead, I got erased. Again. This time, with a punchline. I eventually got off the floor, cleaned up the pie, and poured myself a glass of water like it might wash away everything I felt. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark, phone in hand, just waiting. For a text. A call. Something. But nothing came. Not a single notification. Not that night. Not even a, "Where'd you go?" or a, "You okay?" The silence was almost worse than the toast. Almost. I lay there in bed with my phone beside me like it was some ticking bomb that refused to go off. My apartment was quiet, too quiet. Usually, I liked the stillness. It meant no one was telling me I was a disappointment. But tonight it just echoed. Everything felt heavier. My backpack, my bones, my breath. At some point, I opened the Notes app and started typing a message I never sent. Something like, "Hey Dad. That was messed up. But not surprising." I deleted it. Then tried again. "Thanks for confirming everything I suspected." Deleted that too. Eventually I typed, "Not angry. Just done." That one I left sitting in drafts. By 2 a.m., I was still wide awake. I turned on a podcast just to feel like someone was talking to me. Some guy breaking down how crows can remember human faces. I almost laughed. Crows get it. They remember the people who hurt them. They never forget. I woke up around 9 a.m., which is late for me. Usually, I'm up by 6. The HVAC life doesn't exactly wait for you to finish your dreams. But that morning, I didn't have work. I didn't have anywhere to be. Just me, some cold air creeping in through the cracked window, and the foggy memory of being publicly demoted from son to background character. I reached for my phone more out of habit than hope. That's when I saw it. 23 missed calls. I blinked, sat up, and stared. My stomach dropped the way it does when you realize the leftovers you forgot in the fridge were your rent money for the week. Call log. Mom 8. Dad 6. Tyler 4. Uncle Rich. Grandma. Even my cousin Lucy, who normally texts like once a year to invite me to her MLM, business launch, parties. Then the text. Just one. From Dad. "We went too far." No punctuation. No. "I'm sorry." No. I shouldn't have said that. Just 5 words that carried all the emotional effort of a parking ticket. I didn't reply. I just tossed the phone back onto my nightstand like it had personally betrayed me. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part just wanted pancakes. Mostly, I just felt tired. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes, but the kind that builds up after years of trying to outrun being the family disappointment. I dragged myself into the kitchen, stepped over a sticky patch of pie that I'd missed last night, and made coffee. The kind so strong it could strip paint. Black. No sugar. No energy to pretend I like things sweet. While it brewed, I checked my voicemail. First message, 9:34 p.m. Thanksgiving night. Mom, teetering on fake casual. "Hi honey. Just checking in. Not sure if you left early because of the traffic or, well, anyway, call me when you get this, okay?" Second message, 10:12 p.m. Dad, trying to sound light but clearly annoyed. "Owen. I think maybe you took something out of context. We were all just joking. Call your mother." Third message, 10:28 p.m. Tyler. Actual Tyler. "Hey man. Didn't realize you were that sensitive about it. You know Dad doesn't mean stuff like that. It's just his humor. You know how he is. Yeah, I know how he is. I've known how he is since I was 7, and he joked that my science fair project looked like something the dog coughed up. Then laughed when I cried. Another voicemail from Mom came in around midnight. She sounded a little more frantic. We really didn't mean to hurt your feelings, sweetheart. You know we're proud of you, just in different ways. Tyler's got a lot going on right now, and we're just trying to support him. Please don't blow this out of proportion. There it was. We're proud of you, just in different ways. That's code for. We think you're fine, but your brother's extraordinary, and we're going to pretend that's not the same thing as favoritism. I sat down at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, and stared at the little turkey-shaped salt shaker from the dollar store. It was crooked. Just like everything else. Part of me wanted to call back and scream. To say, why did you think that was okay? To ask why, for the love of stuffing, they couldn't have waited until I left before turning the night into a TED Talk on Tyler's greatness. But instead, I did nothing. I sat there in that small apartment with the heat on low and the fridge humming in protest, and for the first time in years, I didn't rush to fix it. I let them sit in the discomfort for once. By noon, I'd officially ignored every attempt at communication. Not out of pettiness. Okay, maybe 10% pettiness. But mostly because I didn't trust myself to answer without unleashing a verbal demolition crew. I didn't want to say something I'd regret. But more than that, I didn't want to hear them try to explain what they did. Because let's be honest, when someone says, it was just a joke, what they usually mean is, it wasn't supposed to hurt you, so you're not allowed to be hurt. I wasn't playing that game anymore. Around 1 p.m., Tyler texted me again. This time, more sincere. Or at least, trying to be. Tyler. Look, man. Dad's old school. He doesn't get how that stuff lands. I told him he should apologize, like for real. We all feel bad. It was wild, honestly. Tyler acting like a middle manager deflecting complaints about a toxic CEO. Tyler. You want to grab lunch or something? Talk it out. Talk it out. Like what happened was a minor misunderstanding over a turkey recipe and not a live demonstration of my emotional expendability. Then came the photo. From Mom. A picture of a slice of pie on a paper plate, with the caption, "Saved you a piece. Come by if you're ready to talk." The guilt. Always wrapped in sugar and disposable cutlery. She never even asked why I left. Just assumed I'd eventually circle back, like a Roomba with abandonment issues. At 2 p.m., someone knocked on my apartment door. I peeked through the peephole. It was Aunt Cheryl. With a foil tray in her hands and a weird smile like she was delivering peace offerings between rival kingdoms. "Hi, sweetheart," she said when I opened it an inch. "I was just in the neighborhood. Thought I'd drop off some leftovers." Right. Just happened to be in my industrial part of town, 40 minutes from her yoga co-op. I took the tray. She lingered. "They really didn't mean it, you know. It was a long day. Everyone was a little tipsy. You know how your dad gets." I nodded, slowly. "Yep. I know exactly how he gets." She didn't get the sarcasm. "Well, anyway," she said, backing up, "they're all feeling terrible about it. They just want to clear the air. Maybe you could come to dinner tomorrow?" Clear the air. I'd heard that phrase so many times it practically had its own seat at the table. I didn't say yes. Didn't say no. Just thanked her and shut the door. I opened the foil tray after she left. More turkey. More stuffing. A few slices of that beige-green casserole no one actually likes. And, of course, another slice of pie. This one, though, had a sticky note on top. It read, "Come home soon. Love, Mom." The home part hit harder than I expected. Because that house hasn't felt like home in years. It's where I go to be reminded of everything I'm not. Not successful enough. Not interesting enough. Not Tyler. That night, I sat with the tray untouched and stared at my phone. I thought about blocking them all. I thought about going to dinner tomorrow just to say everything I'd swallowed for the last decade. But what I didn't think about, not once, was pretending it didn't happen. That part of me? Dead and buried in the splattered remains of last night's pie. I didn't respond for 3 days. Not because I didn't know what to say, on the contrary, I knew exactly what I'd say. The problem was, I didn't want to let them skip ahead. They always wanted the fast-forward version of reconciliation, quick text, awkward hug, jokes about family being messy, and boom, back to pretending it never happened. I wasn't doing that this time. This time, I let the silence breathe. I let it grow uncomfortable. I let them sit in it. Monday night, I finally texted my mom. I'll come by Friday. Not for dinner. Not for a group ambush. Just to talk. One-on-one. She replied almost instantly. Of course. Just us. I'll make tea. I didn't respond. I wasn't coming over for tea. I was coming over for answers. Friday came, and I parked a block away from their house. I don't even know why. Maybe to give myself a minute. Maybe to remember that I chose to walk into that house. No one could say I didn't try. It was cold again. Not the kind of cold that bites, but the kind that slowly seeps into your sleeves and bones. That slow burn kind of cold. The kind that felt familiar. Mom opened the door like she'd been waiting behind it all morning. She wore a pale blue cardigan she only broke out for holidays and serious talks. Her eyes did that soft thing, like they were auditioning for sympathy. Hi, sweetheart, she said. I nodded and stepped inside. The smell of cinnamon and guilt hit me like a bad candle. She'd lit one of those overpriced ones Tyler got her last year, something about harvest healing. We sat at the kitchen table. No one else around. No Tyler. No Dad. Just us. She handed me a mug of peppermint tea and tried to smile. Still your favorite? I didn't correct her. I hadn't cared about peppermint tea since college, but that wasn't the point. So, she said after a few sips, how have you been holding up? Fine, I said. You? Her eyes flinched, just barely. Like she wasn't used to being on the receiving end of that kind of answer. I've been thinking a lot, she said. About what happened. About what your father said. I waited. No prompting. Just let her fill the space. I think maybe he meant it, poorly. It came out wrong. There it was. I stared at her. Came out wrong? She looked down. He shouldn't have said it like that. No, I said. He shouldn't have thought it like that. Big difference. She sighed. You know how your father is. He says things that you all let slide. That shut her up for a second. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse. But I didn't soften it either. For years, I said, he's made digs. He's made jokes. You all laugh. I stay quiet. You call it keeping the peace. I call it losing my voice. She stared into her mug like it had answers. I don't think we realize how deep it cut, she finally said. No. You didn't want to, I replied. It was easier not to. She flinched again. We've always been proud of you, Owen. Your work ethic. Your heart. Then why didn't you say it out loud? I asked. Why was it always Tyler getting the speeches? The toasts? The Facebook posts about his latest business meeting in God knows where? She blinked fast. He needed more support. Did he? I asked. Or did he just expect it? The room fell quiet. I watched her squirm under it. That silence she always used to fill with excuses was finally her own to sit in. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here because you asked me to come. She reached for my hand. I let her touch it, but I didn't squeeze back. You say you're proud, I said. But if you can only say it now, when you're scared I'll walk away, then it's not pride. It's panic. That one landed. Her fingers retracted slightly. We want to fix it, she whispered. I nodded slowly. Then start by acknowledging that it's broken. And stop trying to pour tea over a house fire. The next day, my dad texted me. "I'd like to talk. Just us. Come by when you're ready." No punctuation, of course. His grammar always got tight when he felt guilty. I didn't answer right away. I needed space. Also, I was mid-laundry and emotionally bracing myself is not a quick process. But by Sunday morning, I knew I had to go. Not for him. For me. I'd spent my whole life avoiding confrontation with him. Letting things slide. Laughing along even when it burned. I let him say things like, "Your brother's the brain, you're the brawn." Like that wasn't just code for, "You're not smart, but at least you can lift stuff." So I showered. Put on the hoodie I wore in high school, the one he used to call my uniform for underachievement. I wore it on purpose. If this was going to be a performance, I wanted to control the costume. I parked in the same spot, but this time walked a little slower to the front door. My mom answered again, but didn't say anything. She just gave me a nod and stepped aside. He was waiting in the den. The place with all his achievements, awards from work, golf trophies, a photo of him shaking hands with a mayor no one remembers. "Hey, kiddo," he said. "Kiddo." I sat across from him and didn't respond right away. Let him sit in that opening silence. He looked older than I remembered. Not in the gray hair way, but in the way people look when they've finally run out of excuses and energy to run from them. He began. "I just want to say, I messed up." I didn't blink. Didn't nod. "That toast," he continued, rubbing the back of his neck like he was trying to massage the regret out of it. "I was trying to make a joke. Something light. I didn't mean it to come out that way." "You meant every word of it," I said quietly. "That's why it stung." He looked at me for a long moment. "You're right." That surprised me more than it should have. "I was proud of Tyler," he said. "And I didn't think about what it would sound like to say it like that. We've always had a complicated thing, you and me." "Yeah," I said. "Complicated's one word." He gave a sad sort of smile. "You always worked hard. Always showed up. And I guess I thought you didn't need the praise. That maybe, saying it out loud would come off like I was babying you." "No," I said. "You thought I hadn't earned it." His face dropped. Silence stretched. I watched him struggle with whether to fight it, or own it. He sighed. "I thought the hard work was its own reward. That you were the kind of guy who didn't need the spotlight. Everyone needs to feel seen." "I see you now," he said. It sounded honest. It also sounded late. "Why did no one stop you?" I asked. "You said it." Everyone laughed. Mom didn't flinch. Tyler didn't blink. They all acted like it was normal. He looked away. "Because," he said, "they're used to me saying stupid things. And they're used to you swallowing them." The honesty knocked the air out of the room. "You were never a failure, Owen," he said. "You were never the disappointment. You just didn't make noise about what you needed. So I didn't hear you. That's not an excuse." He nodded. "I know. I stopped talking because I got tired of being talked over." "I know." I looked at the family portrait on the wall. Taken years ago. I was off to the side, hands clasped, half smile. Tyler was dead center, like a campaign ad. "I worked 2 jobs and went to school at night," I said. "Never once did you come to my graduation. Not even a text. And you know what Mom said when I asked if you were coming?" He didn't answer. "She said you didn't want a big fuss anyway. Like I didn't deserve one." His jaw clenched. "You did. Too late, but okay. I can't fix all of it," he said. "But I want to start. I want to do better. I want to hear you, not just assume I know what you're thinking." "That's new," I said dryly. He let out a breath that sounded like someone trying to exhale a decade of failure. "I'm sorry, Owen. Truly. I was wrong." I stared at him. Not because I doubted him, but because I wanted to remember this moment, the rare, quiet one where he didn't justify it or dress it up. Where he finally said the words without a joke underneath. And maybe, I believed him. I stood up. He looked startled. You leaving? No, I said. Just done sitting in this chair. I walked over and looked at the photo again. The forgotten one. The version of me they kept pushing to the side. And then I turned back and said, Next time you raise a glass, raise it to both of us. Or don't raise it at all. He nodded slowly. I left without finishing my tea. Didn't slam the door. Didn't storm out. Just closed it behind me with the kind of finality that only comes from saying what needed to be said, and letting someone else sit with it for once. The next few days were strange. Quiet in a way that felt intentional. Like the whole family had agreed to pause their usual chaos and let the dust settle. No calls. No texts. No new invitations. Not even passive-aggressive messages from my aunt about family being everything. It was weirdly peaceful. I think they were waiting for me to tell them how things were supposed to go from here. But I didn't. I didn't offer a roadmap. I didn't write a speech. I just lived. I went to work like normal. Fixed a busted water heater in a strip mall, rewired a thermostat for an elderly couple who tipped me with banana bread and unsolicited gossip. I even hit the gym a few times, mostly out of spite. I figured if I was gonna carry this much emotional weight, I might as well carry actual weights, too. Tyler texted me on Thursday. Heard you talk to Dad. Proud of you for saying what needed to be said. A pause. Then another message. Also, sorry. For not saying anything that night. I should've. It was the first time in our lives he'd ever admitted to being wrong without first trying to joke his way out of it. I didn't respond. Not out of bitterness, just tiredness. Emotional fatigue has a way of shrinking your vocabulary. Instead, I did something different. I planned a dinner. Not a family dinner. A real one. I invited friends, people who knew me as Owen the person, not Owen the role player in the Carter family drama series. Jo came, obviously, with her sarcastic one-liners and three-layer dip. Eli brought craft beer. Nora showed up with a Bluetooth speaker and a playlist that should have been illegal in 3 states. We grilled. We laughed. Someone burned the cornbread and blamed capitalism. It was the first time I'd hosted anything in years. And you know what? No one made a toast. No one needed to. Because there wasn't a Tyler to compare me to. No gold-plated expectations. No silent scorekeeping. Just people passing plates and stories and asking real questions like, how's work? You seeing anyone these days? Do you still do that thing where you hum while fixing stuff? Yes. I do. Thanks for noticing. Around 10 p.m. I stepped outside with a beer and sat on the front steps. Jo followed me out. Pretty solid party, she said, nudging my shoulder. Thanks, I replied. Didn't even plan on calling it that. She looked at me sideways. Your dad call? Nope. You want him to? I thought about it. About everything he said. About the apology that actually sounded real. About the years of stuff that apology would never undo. I don't know, I admitted. She nodded. You don't have to figure it out all at once. Then she handed me her phone. On the screen was a blurry photo she'd taken from earlier, me at the grill, smiling, talking to Eli about something dumb. There was barbecue sauce on my cheek. I looked ridiculous. And happy. You look like someone who finally let go of something heavy, she said. Maybe I did. And maybe, for once, that was enough. The following Monday, a letter arrived in my mailbox. An actual, physical letter, cream-colored envelope, my name written in my dad's handwriting. Neat, like always. He wrote like he was applying for a government job. I sat with it unopened for nearly an hour. When I finally did open it, I expected more of the same, half-sincere wisdom, some version of, boys don't always say what they mean. Or maybe even a passive-aggressive line about how he hoped I wouldn't hold a grudge. But it wasn't that. It was a single sheet of paper. And all it said was this. You were right. I should have raised that glass to both my sons. I hope someday I can earn a second chance. Love, Dad. No manipulation. No rewriting. No, but I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry either. What I felt was space. Like I finally had room to breathe inside my own story. Later that night, I opened the family group chat. Yes, I'd left it. Twice. But I'd never deleted it. Part of me always expected it to implode in a blaze of emoji-filled dysfunction. Instead, it was quiet. No Happy Monday from Aunt Cheryl. No new baby photos. Just one pinned message from my mom. Let's try to be better. All of us. Starting with listening. Below it, Tyler had replied with a thumbs up. Which, for him, was basically a monologue. I didn't say anything. I didn't rejoin. I didn't need to. That weekend, I drove out to a hardware store across town. Picked up paint samples, shelving brackets, and a second-hand tool chest I'd been eyeing online for months. Not because I needed a project. Because I was the project. All my life, I'd been trying to renovate myself into someone they'd see. Now, I was building something that didn't need their approval to stand. Jo came over the next day to help paint. She spilled a gallon of Dover Grey all over her boots and called it a spiritual awakening. We laughed. The real kind. The kind that doesn't feel like it's balancing on broken glass. As we wrapped up, my phone buzzed again. A text. From Mom. We're thinking about doing a small family dinner next week. Just us. No speeches. No surprises. We'd really like you to come. I read it twice. Then I put my phone down. Didn't block her. Didn't answer either. Because for once in my life, I wasn't rushing toward their table. I had my own. And it finally had room for me.